Well, welcome into our fantasy review. Moving right along in the AFC West, we are talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. Um,
Boo.
yeah, we have a lot of Raiders fans, friends, and family, and as Chargers fans, or former Charger fan, is for you, Dad, or but
Yeah.
everyone hates the Raiders unless you're a Raiders fan. They're an easy team to hate. Um, for fantasy, I don't know. Not. There's a couple intriguing things, but it starts with the quarterback, and we'll get into that. Just quick PSA: we're recording this on August 5th, so if you're listening to this and you hear us not talk about some kind of injury that happened, that's why. And all the numbers you will see are half PPR, ADP, points per game. We got Minshew and his beautiful
Where
face
did
here.
you get that picture?
That's his. That's a real picture of him. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was in a Raiders uniform or not, but Gardner Minshew is the first quarterback being drafted, but he's not really being drafted in one quarterback leagues. Round 19 as 220, quarterback 35. Aiden O'Connell is the other guy. He's going a few rounds later, but again, both these guys, neither of them are really being drafted unless you play in super flex or very deep leagues. You see the numbers actually averaged very similar points per game last year. 12.1 for Aiden O'Connell, 12.8 for Minshew. Any lean, in your opinion, Dad, on who the starting quarterback is?
I kind of flop around on this one thinking, all right, Minshew's been there, done that. But you kind of know what you're going to get from him. You're going to get a competitive team, but are they really a playoff team and stuff like that? So it's like, then I think, oh, just put O'Connell in, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's tough to figure out. I don't know if I really watched a full game with Aiden O'Connell last year. I did see him play college football a couple times. I think he was with Purdue, and I don't know. Maybe his second year is better, and Devontae Adams was kind of whining a couple months ago and stuff like that. So that O'Connell's getting him killed or something.
No, that was Garoppolo. About Garoppolo.
Oh, was it about Garoppolo? Okay.
Yeah, it was in the middle. It was on the Netflix receiver.
Yeah,
thing,
that's
and
right.
It was about Garoppolo, and they think part of the reason why they made the change to O'Connell was because of Devontae Adams. So, yeah, I mean, he had some decent games last year. I'm just looking at his game log. He threw, 271, 250, and against the Chargers, he was great. 250 and 4 touchdowns, and then he ended the year completing last 2 games, 64% of his passes. He had 300 yards and 250 yards, and then 2 touchdowns in both games. So he had a pretty good last couple of weeks of the year. I think they like him, but they also paid Minshew like he's a starter. He paid him 2 years, $25 million, which I don't know. Maybe that's starter money. It's up there for sure, but I think it's going to be a true battle, and we should get news this week about who's going to be starting this Saturday for them. I assume they're going to do one, Minshew or O'Connell as game 1 starter, and then game 2 will be the other guy. But in terms of fantasy, we're not drafting either one of these guys in a 1 quarterback league. In Superflex is different, but it matters because it matters for the, can they support some of their players? So Zamir White's an interesting conversation here. He's 25 years old, almost. I think there's some potential value here. The points per game numbers don't really pay attention to because he just didn't play all the way up until Jacobs got hurt. And I'll tell you the numbers of what he was doing in those games. But this team wants to run the ball. They got an old school kind of defensive head coach. They want to run the hell out of the ball and play defense. And Zamir White could be that guy, and he could be huge value here. He's going in round 6 as RB23. So do you think that's a value for him potentially? You think that's just right because we're not really sure if he's going to be the guy? Or
yeah, I think there's some value there. Maybe as a running back 3 or 4. I
Mhm.
don't know. I mean, if he's the starting running back for the Raiders, I mean, it should translate into something, you
Yep.
know. So, are you going to talk about his game log and
Yeah, so he took over for Jacobs the last 4 weeks, and he had 84 carries in 4 games, so that's 21 carries a game. He had basically 400 yards, so he averaged 100 yards per game, 1 touchdown, and then 9 catches, so about 2 catches a game. Typical starting running back stuff. So um, if he's the guy, I think that's what he's going to get. 20 carries, a couple catches, and that's going to be valuable if he can, even if he has a low yards per attempt, which he didn't. He averaged 4.7 yards per attempt in those 4 games. But even if he has a low, like with the pure volume he's going to get, if the defense can keep the game close, this guy's going to get 20 to 25 carries, like potentially every game.
I think going back to what you asked me, I think, yeah, just kind of looking at this stuff and how he ended up, and there's really nobody, there's no knight in shining armor behind him,
No.
So this guy, and of course you got to think about injuries, but what the hell, everybody can get injured. He looks good. I mean, he hardly did anything until the month of December. So, and that's obviously when Josh Jacobs was hurt.
Yeah. And, he's a former 4th-round pick, which is pretty good for a running back. They did bring in Alexander Madison, who, will definitely spell him here and there, but I don't really think they're going to – I'm not too worried about that. They have Amir Abdullah or Dylan Lobby, the rookie, to me, he's going to be the 3rd down guy. So, yeah, we could just be walking into some incredible value here. I mean, 200 freaking carries, if he can hold up for a majority of the season, that's close to 300, over 300 if he stays healthy the whole year. So, I don't know. I just think this could be some really sneaky value here, and we're hedging our bets a little bit because if we knew he was going to be the guy and get 20 carries a game, he would be a round 3 pick, round 4 pick. So, and especially in half PPR. By the way, his fantasy, he averaged 14.1 half PPR points per game over those 4 games. That was good for about 11th best in points per game, 8th in total points. So, yeah, I mean,
that's not bad.
Again, yeah, and
it's not terrible.
Yeah, we don't know what the team thinks of Madison. I assume Amir Abdullah is still going to have that pass catching role, but that's fine. Even during those 4 weeks, it's not like he was playing 100% of the snaps. Amir White, it was 70 to 75%. So
Madison has showed us when he's running back number 2, he's very good, and when he's running back number 1, he doesn't look so good. So
no,
it's kind of interesting.
No, I think he's just kind of there to protect it. And you look at Zamir White, like his profile, he's 6 foot 215. Like he has good size. Like I think he can take on a load. And sometimes we overthink things in fantasy, and we just don't go with like, hey, this guy's going to get a lot of touches. Kind of like Rachaad White last year. I think Rachaad White was like a 6th-round pick, and we were worried about it. Like, is it going to be him? Is he going to be effective? And it basically came down to it didn't really matter because he just got all the touches, like whether he was efficient or not. So
that's funny. Amir Abdullah was drafted by the Lions when like Matt Stafford was there. So that guy's been around. 2nd-round pick and 31 years old. So just some funny facts, fun facts.
Yeah. With the receivers here, I mean, obviously we have Devontae Adams is the big one to talk about. The big concern is, he'll be 32 later in the year, I think in December. Essentially, he'll be 31 years old this year. He's going in round 2 still, kind of right around where he went last year. You see the numbers did dip last year. He went from a top 5 receiver to averaging 12.6 points per game. He is going as the wide receiver 10. I think people are we're concerned about the quarterback and the age. There's two kind of things to be concerned about here. I don't think we're concerned about is Davante Adams going to get a bunch of targets, because he is. He had 175 last year, even with the bad quarterbacks. So he's going to get the targets. Minshew, we just saw him hyper target like Michael Pittman, and he gave Michael Pittman, however many, 160 targets last year. So, and then Aidan O'Connell, I think, I'm just double checking here. I'm pretty sure that Adams was pretty good with, from week 10 to 18, Davante Adams was the wide receiver 13. So he was very good with Aidan O'Connell, just kind of feeding him the ball. So is this too high for Adams? Are you worried about the quarterback and age, or you think it's just right?
I think those are right on. Quarterback is one, and the age, I don't, maybe a little slight concern there, but this guy seems to be, we were talking about his Netflix thing, and he's worried about his money and his touches and his catches, and he was going to play with Derek Carr and all that other stuff. He bailed out of Green Bay, so he's kind of all about himself. But his numbers, 175 targets, 103 receptions. That's a lot. I know the yardage could have been a little more, but 8 touchdowns. Wide receiver 10. Where does that? Where does that equate to in a draft?
Yeah, he's a mid-second round pick.
I think that's legit.
I mean, essentially, you're saying, like, you have obviously the top guys in, CD, Tyreek, Jefferson, Chase, Amon-Ra, and then you have AJ Brown, I think, is established after that. Then you have guys like Puka, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, and then it's Davante Adams. Now, Puka obviously has the injury, so we don't know. That could fall, but it's essentially, do you want Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, or Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, or Olave? Like, it's take your pick of those guys,
I don't know how Marvin Harrison slides in there already, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about on the Cardinal show. It's just a couple different things. We've been hearing about him, other guys, all that. But
I heard you can't buy his jersey.
Yeah, there's something going on with that. But I guess there's always the possibility that Davante Adams also gets traded, which the trade deadline in the NFL never really pans out to anything, and major guys don't. I mean, we had McCaffrey a couple years ago, but they did move it back either a week or two, the trade deadline, hopefully to kind of facilitate more trades. And, it could be a respect thing for the Raiders. If they're just sucking at that point, they'd be like, all right, let's get something for Davante Adams and let's get him to a good team. So
it's a big ass contract to take on. So,
I think it is a big
Panthers.
contract. Yeah, it's a big contract, but there's an out after this year. And if you're picking him up halfway throughout the year, you're only paying him half his contract, right? Essentially.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, but I guess I'm okay with it. It is a little bit concerning, but I'm pretty confident the guy's going to be still a target hog here because, you have Jacoby Myers, who's a good receiver. I think he's a little bit underrated. Obviously, if he's the wide receiver too for a team with a good quarterback, we'd be a lot more in on Jacoby Myers, but we just don't know what the pass volume for this team's going to be. And you have a target hog in Davante Adams. He's going to have to do what he did last year, where he was wide receiver 25 in points per game. So he was a startable wide receiver, 2/3, essentially. He caught 8 touchdowns. He's probably going to have to do that again. 70, 80 catches, 800, 900 yards, 8 touchdowns. Because I don't really see much more from him, just because again the pass volume for the Raiders. So, any interest in Jacoby Myers? Round 12, so he's a fourth guy on your bench essentially.
Yeah, I think so. Again, they still have the same concerns, with the quarterback and stuff like that. But Minshew can get these guys the ball. I think. O'Connell, yeah, I guess. But I think what is a comparison of where Jacoby Myers sits at, other wide receivers? Can you throw a couple names out there?
Yeah, so you have Khalil Shakir from Buffalo, Romeo Dobbs, Green Bay, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cook. So Shakir and Dobbs are the two in front of him. Jeudy, Cooks, Josh Downs are the three after him. All kind of very similar, all within kind of 7-8 picks of each other.
Okay.
So, I mean, you look at it and it's like, all right, like I think Dobbs and Myers can have similar production. I think there's maybe a little bit more upside with guys like Shakir or even Jerry Jeudy. And then like Brandon Cooks, Myers, Dobbs. Like I kind of see those guys putting up similar numbers, with potential touchdowns. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if you have a lean there with one of those players or at all, but I kind of see them as all very similar players. And I guess the upside with Myers is like, okay, Dobbs is in a very crowded receiving room. So if something happens to Adams, we know who the wide receiver one for the Raiders is. It's Myers. We don't necessarily know that for the Bills, Shakir, Green Bay with Dobbs and stuff like that. So I guess that's where you can make the argument potentially. So I think he's fine. Like what he is like a bench guy and put in during bye weeks, but it's definitely concerning with the pass volume in terms of what he's going to get. But that being said, like it's not like he was being hyper targeted last year. He had 106 targets in 16 games, which is good, but that comes out to 6.5 a game. I think he could still get that. They're going to throw the ball at least 25 times, right? 25 times. So you assume Adams gets 10, Myers gets 5 or 6. You still have, 8, 9 targets to go around. So
yeah.
No one else on the receiving core here, and the tight end Brock Bowers is being drafted in round 9 as tight. He's being drafted as a tight end 1 this year. I think part of the reason is because of what we saw from Sam Laporta last year, which isn't what we should be doing, but that's just how we are, right? We say, oh, this rookie tight end did it. This guy's a better prospect, so he should do it too, right? So I'm out on Laporta. We just talked about having concerns for the wide receiver 2 for this team. I think maybe he is the number 2 target for this team. I don't think it's much more than Myers if he is. Obviously, you have a target hog in Adams, and we're concerned about pass volume. So I don't want to draft Laporta. I don't know if you feel different, Dad, if you want to take a chance on him.
Are you talking about
maybe as Brock Bowers? Yeah.
I'm not sure. I guess I'd like to know how their offense is going to run. Is Brock Bowers going to be one of those Swiss Army knife guys where he's lined up as a receiver, not. And then you still got Michael Mayer from. He's in his, as a traditional tight end. I guess that's that. To me, I would have more. I'd be warm and fuzzier about Brock Bowers if I know how he's going to be used. But he's still a rookie, and we haven't seen. Last year we were talking about rookie tight ends. It's a hard, position to learn. Blah 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 blah. And then Laporta does pretty good. So it kind of broke that narrative up. So I don't know if I'm taking a chance on Brock Bowers though, and not at that spot.
Yeah.
Not saying he's gonna not produce, but
I guess the logic could be like, All right, you're taking a chance on Bowers, and if he doesn't work out, you just pick someone else up off a waiver wire and you survive with, and you piece it together. Which at this point in the draft, you're already kind of piecing it together at the tight end position, because after Brock Bowers, Goddard, who I think is very underrated, and undervalued this year. But you have Goddard, you have Hawkinson, we're not sure about, Dalton Schultz, Freiermuth, right? So you're probably going to miss out on those guys. And then it's like Kmet, Musgrave, Conklin, Henry. So you're already kind of piecing it together. So maybe you're like, well, if he hits, he's going to be awesome. If he doesn't, then I'll just piece it together somewhere else. But I guess my concern with him is, you brought up Sam Laporta, and obviously, the best rookie season we've all ever seen at the tight end position. If there was no Sam Laporta last year, we would be looking at Dalton Kincaid's season as a rookie tight end and being like, that's really damn good.
Yeah.
73 catches and 700 yards as a rookie tight end is
I
awesome.
I think he was quiet the first part of the season. I don't know if it was a month or half the season. And this is, I'm just trying to go off of memory. And then
You're right.
And then again, the offensive coordinator changed.
Mm-hmm.
They started running the ball, and they started featuring Kincaid, and Diggs got, bumped out of the picture or became irrelevant. So, go ahead.
Well, the point being is that's what my expectation for a rookie tight end is what Kincaid did last year. And that was not really start worthy in fantasy. When Dawson Knox was out, those 4 weeks, he was awesome. 11.5, 15, 11.1, 13.6. And that's another thing we need to bring up is Kincaid wasn't able really to get on the field because Dawson Knox, a professional tight end, was there. A guy who is not this amazing pass-catching guy, but tight ends need to do so much more than just catch passes. So Michael Mayer is still there on this team. And if Brock Bowers isn't going to be, this amazing blocker to start off with a team that wants to run the ball a lot, Brock Bowers is going to split time with Michael Mayer, right? It's going to happen. He's not just going to come in and we never hear from Michael Mayer again. I think Michael Mayer is a good tight end. A lot of people thought he was the best tight end in last year's draft. I think he can do things that could put Brock Bowers, on the bench at times. So I guess I get it, taking a chance here, and you're shooting for upside with your tight end, but I don't really expect much from Bowers year one. But beyond that, obviously. Now, if Devontae Adams does get traded, that could be a different story. But
definitely.
But that's not going to happen until November.
Somebody's got to make up 175 targets, huh?
Yeah. But again, that won't happen until late October, early November.
This is where I get a little pissed off at the preseason that we don't see enough. I like watching preseason games to try and figure out, how are some of these guys going to fit in and stuff like that. And you don't. I don't know if you get those feelings or something like that. I mean, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. But that's the Raiders. We will be back talking about the Chargers in the next video. So as we continue around the AFC West, and we will catch you all in that video.